So thank you for doing this interview real quick.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one first question. What is your greatest accomplishment as being part of City Council?
I think the biggest thing that I did was to pass an expansion of tenant protections in the city of Los Angeles, the largest expansion in 40 years, including being the largest city in America to pass universal just cause eviction protections, which is incredibly exciting. And millions of renters across the city were positively impacted.
And if you were mayor of Los Angeles, how would you expand upon doing that?
So the city right now, the housing department is often hostile to renters. When they come and ask for help, the city isn't oriented towards helping them. I want to make sure that the city is actually mission driven to keep renters housed, to prevent displacement, to keep people in their communities. And I want to create an office of tenant protections for the very first time and to make sure that's the mission of the housing department.
Understood. Wonderful. So what do you think the biggest misconception is when it comes to the Los Angeles mayoral position?
You know, a lot of people say that the mayor is a weak mayor. And I think oftentimes when you don't use the power of the mayor's office, it can look weak. But actually the mayor in Los Angeles has a lot of power. They have the power to hire and fire department heads, which means that they get to set every department's agenda. They get to pick the priorities. They get to pick how they hold those department heads accountable for outcomes and results for the citizens of Los Angeles, which is really important.
Absolutely. One big question on everyone's minds, we're seeing a lot of small businesses close in areas like Hollywood, Melrose, La Brea, all over the city. How do we address that, and how would you address that as the mayor of Los Angeles?
So I think there's a lot of ways in which we can make sure that our storefronts are open, that streets are vibrant. One is making sure that predatory landlords are not able to use powers against smaller businesses that really need those leases. So there's a tenant anti-harassment ordinance that's moving through the council for small businesses, and I'm very, very supportive of that. I would champion that. But also the city can actually provide incentives for landlords who keep storefronts open, make sure that the city is really focused on ensuring that small businesses are able to stay where they are and to thrive.
Another big question is public transit when it comes to the mayoral position. Would you be able to expand things such as the metro lines in the city? Would you be able to add more stops or even more lines to places like Burbank or Glendale?
So right now the mayor has 4 positions on the Metro board. And this mayor has not taken a strong interest in making sure that public transit decisions across the county benefit the residents of Los Angeles. I want to appoint 4 people, including myself, who are really passionate about transit and who are making sure that this city becomes one in which you can actually depend on public transit to get around, that you're not forced to buy a car, which can add enormous expenditures to every family. And we can do that through strategic use of our powers on the Metro. That's what I want to do as mayor.
Going back to homelessness, another big question is that you received a lot of criticism for your vote regarding whether or not people should be able to have homeless encampments close to schools or daycares. You voted against that measure, and I would like to hear you explain your position on that vote.
Yeah, so I have a mother of twins who are 10 years old who walk to school every single day. I do not want to see homelessness on our city streets. I think it's a humanitarian crisis and a moral crisis. My question is, what are the most effective policy interventions that are actually going to get people off the streets and get encampments out of our neighborhoods, away from schools, and into safety, where every human has a bed to sleep in at night? The policy interventions that the city has been pushing, the ones that we have in place on our streets, have led to growing homelessness. I want policies that are actually going to address this issue, and that's the policies that I've been pushing for.
Do you think that policy criminalizes homelessness?
I think it pushes people from one sidewalk to another and spends enormous resources doing it. What I want to do is make sure that we're taking resources to move people indoors and off the streets, and we can do that. In my district last year, we had a 50% reduction in the numbers of people living on the street. Far greater than the rest of the city, which actually saw an increase in the numbers of people living on the street. That's what good policy can do. That's what I want to implement citywide as the mayor.
And going on to immigration, there's a lot of questions right now over buzzwords such as sanctuary city and abolish ICE. What is a sanctuary city, and what does that mean for the people of Los Angeles?
So I actually helped pass and write our sanctuary city ordinance in the city. That means that in our city, no city resources can be used to collaborate with ICE, to allow ICE on city property or to use city resources to do what they're doing on our streets, which is absolutely horrific. But what I've seen is that under this mayor's leadership, LAPD has been in some instances helping ICE to do what they're doing on our streets, which I think is absolutely wrong. We need to make sure that our law enforcement, our city resources are being used to protect Angelenos from ICE and to push ICE out of the city entirely. That's what I want to do. I want to sue ICE for unconstitutional actions on our streets. I want to make sure the mayor's office is a place that can really organize against ICE and to make sure that communities are protected.
Yeah.
This is the orientation that the mayor's office should take. We should be fighting back against one of the most horrifying things in a city that's really defined by its immigrant population.
Yeah, and 3 weeks ago in Houston, Texas, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was murdered by ICE while on his way to work. If that were to happen in Los Angeles, God forbid, if that were to happen, what would you take steps-wise as mayor to help combat against ICE to make sure something like that never happens in the first place?
I would be doing something that we should have already been doing, which is when ICE is taking unconstitutional actions on our streets, murdering residents in cold blood, arresting people without warrants, entering spaces without the kind of authorization that they need, we should be suing them every single instance. Other cities have done this and have limited the actions of ICE on their streets. The city of Los Angeles needs to do much more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
guess the last question is, to anyone out there who's trying to pursue change, what would you say to them if they feel powerless in a time like this?
It is a tough time. I'm not going to lie. I feel like sometimes I look at the news across the country. I look at the news even in our own city, and it's hard not to feel hopeless. But I come to this campaign, I talk to residents, I knock on doors, I call people doing phone banking, and I talk to people who love Los Angeles and who have real hope for the future and who want to see a different version of the city and who believe that we can make it happen. And that really inspires me. So I would tell everyone who's feeling hopeless right now, volunteer in your neighborhood, get involved with the local campaign, make sure that you get to know your neighbors, fight for the change that you want to see, because it starts in your neighborhood, it starts at the city level.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.